Hello, everyone. Welcome to my universe. So here we go. Let's see. Sorry, I lost my train of thought somehow, even before I got started. Always weird when that happens. Anyway. So, when I was looking at this, I still kind of felt like her head was a little bit off. And to an extent, I kind of expected this to happen for a little while because I was initially trying a weirder kind of fisheye perspective, and a lot of it is still there, particularly in the spoon, but the head changed a lot as I toned it down. So that is leading to a certain issue. And I forgot that I had the ribbons on her hair on the same layer as the ribbons on her head, so I need to actually go and grab that before I can just move the top part down. But here we go. I just felt like the top of her head was a little bit big, and I think at the angle here, or maybe slightly above her, and I think her head is tilted down maybe just a little based on what I drew. Not intentional. I think it'd probably make more sense for her head to be going kind of up, but such is life. This is what I drew. I think it looks pretty okay like this, so, you know, I'm gonna stick with it. I do not really feel like redrawing her entire head for maybe a minor optimization, so I think this is fine, and I will just adjust the angle of everything around it. But yeah, when I pushed some of this around, I thought that it looked a little bit better. So here we go. I'm gonna push her ears up just a touch here. And I locked the transparency mask so that this way the ears will move, but the mask that I have over the frills here will not. And I can see that I'm gonna have to redraw a few things. The good news, I still really like the cake. I did not see anything I wanted to fix on the cake. But with the head being all important in pretty much any illustration that involves a face, I do want to make sure that I get it exactly the way I want it with no compromising. None whatsoever. So that is what I will be doing for now. I don't want to say for today because I hope I can do much more than that today. All right. So let's go ahead and color in this spot that's missing now. And it does look like I'm going to have to adjust a few other things too. But again, you know, I kind of expected that. It's all good. And then I want to draw a little bit of the back of her head. I'm not quite sure how I want to do that yet. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make it entirely black, and then put a little bit of a brown line against the black frills here. I think that'll look good, but we'll see how that works in practice, and if there's anything else I need to try. Okay, and I'll add a little bit more fluff coming onto the ear here, because I think that will be cute. Okay, and then it looks like I need a little bit more on the transparency mask right through here, because this ribbon is on top of the ear, so I don't want it to get cut off. Okay, so that's good for that ear. And now, let's get the back of her head a little. Let's see here. I'm just thinking about how I want to do that. Okay, I have thoughts. So first thought is I think I want this bit of hair to turn inward a little bit more. And I don't think I had to adjust a lot of these shadows since I did mostly move the ears together, so that is fortunate. I might have to do a little bit here. We shall see. I think I'm just gonna grab a selection of it here and just kind of turn it a little bit. I should zoom out while I do this. So this way it'll look nice and poofy and fluffy. And hopefully I'll get a nice angle here. There, I think that looks pretty nice. Now I think it feels like it's wrapping around her head just a little bit better. And before I clean that up, I want to do what I planned over on the top of her head here. I'm going to start with the brown because I can see that a little bit more clearly against the black of the frills here. Except there we go. So we'll see just a little bit of the top of her head. And I am hopeful that'll make her head look less weird to me. We'll see how I feel next time, because I swear, every time I get started on this picture, I just find something that in her head that just feels a little bit off, and it bothers me. But goal for today is hands. So I want to finish the hands, I want to finish the spoon. And I want to make this not neon orange anymore. The neon orange is a placeholder, so this way I can see what I'm doing. That is what I'm hoping to accomplish for today, but to be fair, the pose of the hand holding the spoon, a little bit tricky, but also small, so I am hopeful that I can get through that. But we'll see. It's like that wristband is on the arm, and the arm is my nemesis when it comes to drawing. I do find it to be the absolute most difficult thing to draw on the human body. Maybe there's other things I find harder to draw out there. But on the human body, it's arms. Always arms. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna make my life easy, and I'm gonna use the line tool again. I'm gonna use the line tool to get all of this straight instead of trying to do it freehand like I keep trying to do. Look, someday I will practice drawing straight lines, but I don't feel like it today. So I'm gonna use the line tool and make my life easy. Or, you know, with the existence of the line tool, maybe I'll never learn how to draw straight lines. You know, is it really that important? Who knows? Okay, so this one I'm gonna have to erase a little bit. There we go. And that should do it. Okay, no, I don't like how this frill is rubbing right up against the back of her head there. That's not what I want. Let's send it a little bit higher. That's much better. Now they're not right next to each other. I might still have to send it up a little bit higher. We'll see how it shakes out with the black parts. But okay, I think that's a good shape for the back of her head. So I will color it in. And while I do that, since it's fairly easy, fairly straightforward, not a lot to say, let me tell you an absolutely adorable story about my son, because he is 4 and he is cute. So we were playing at Grandpa's house yesterday, and Grandpa was pretending to be the abominable snowman, but that is, of course, very, very hard for a 4-year-old to say. So he started calling him the edible snow. The abominable snowman became the edible snowman. And I just found that absolutely hilarious. I am very easily amused by these things. Extremely. Oh, man. And then there was enough snow on the ground that anytime he wanted to hide from the edible snowman, he just went and covered himself in snow. So he, just kind of buried himself in it. And, then he'd come up with snow sticking to his pants and to a lesser extent his jacket, and that was his snowman disguise. Oh man, I don't particularly like going out to play in the snow anymore myself. I have gotten old, and I no longer like the cold very much. I do not like dealing with cold. But man, just hearing him be absolutely adorable like that was totally worth suffering through the cold weather for. So cute. So stinking cute. Part of it is going to be a little bit sad when my kids get big and, you know, don't do cute things like this anymore. But it's okay, because I think that they'll be doing other things that are probably more interesting as they get a little bit bigger. My daughter's been getting really into drawing lately. And I mean, she's 6, so she is somewhat limited in what she can do. But she has an aesthetic, and she doesn't like it when things break from the aesthetic. We did a drawing contest, I guess, together at one point, and every time she was looking at mine to judge it, since she was both a contestant and a judge, she would go over and criticize my work for not showing the ceiling or the floor. Or we drew mermaids at one point. And she's like, you didn't draw the water. Therefore, this drawing is not realistic and therefore bad. Yeah, I think that works. Okay. Now I gotta get the shadow from the ribbon back under here. Oh yeah, I think that fixed some of my problems with the head. Well, we'll see if I find more later. Much as I do enjoy talking about my kids, sometimes I get a little bit nervous about doing it too much on stream. But the edible snowman was just too cute. I couldn't say no. Is her head sticking out a little bit too much there? Look, somebody very aptly described the proportions here as a Rubik's Cube, and, you know, I totally agree. The proportions here are just an absolute mess all the way through, and sometimes I just gotta try things. Because they are pretty rough. There's a lot going on, and it is very weird. This pose was pretty difficult for me. But as always, when it comes to stream drawings, I do like to push my limits. I find it more interesting than just drawing a bunch of stuff that I am 100% totally comfortable with. I'm going to invert the colors here because I can't see. So inverting the colors just makes it really easy for me to get a contrasting color. And then once I'm done, I just invert the colors back and I have the correct colors. So it takes like no effort and I get proper contrast. It's wonderful. I do it a lot. Because oftentimes I use color schemes that kind of blend in with each other until I make it so they don't. But there we go, and I think I see a little bit of her head poking through the top there, so let's get rid of that. There we go. And I see on the ears here that I need to fill in a little bit more. So back to earsel layer, because I kept in my typos. There we go. How do I feel about it now? How do I feel about it now? Okay, my current brain says okay. With, I don't know, something potentially still feels a little bit off, but I don't know. I think everything is lining up okay. The top of her head should be a little bit big, and this side, the left side, or I guess her right side, should feel a little bit big because, you know, fisheye perspective that I was going for. I think it is correct. And maybe it's just her shoulders that are wrong or something else, but I'm going to deal with some of that later. And maybe I should solve these things, but I think I might need to look away for a little bit. So let's get in to this ribbon on the spoon and then her hands. So I think the ribbon is partially covering the hands. Just my blanket here, it's a little cold. Anyway. So the ribbon is covering part of her hands. And I want to give the impression that up here is pretty far away from down here. Like, it's weird. But that's what happens when you greatly exaggerate perspective. So I think I might want the tips of the ribbons to be a little bit narrower. And we'll see how I figure that out. I think that'll be up here. Yeah, there we are. Spoon, ribbon. But I do think I have the basics there largely down. And let's see. Arm here. Yeah, I think her body's gonna get in the way, so I'm gonna get rid of it for now. She can have her body privileges back later. That's hand, not head. I'm gonna need that. There we are. Okay, so she'll get her body privileges back later. It's all good. I know how to put it. And actually, the shape is kind of in the way too. There we go. And now I can see. I might need to invert the colors on these guys just to make sure I'm drawing all of this correctly. And actually, I think I'm even going to go as far as to hide the cake for a little bit. That's right. I accidentally put the spoon in the cake group because I was lazy before. Oh, that's fine. I'll just hide the layers. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think I can see enough here. I just had to think about it for a second. So I want everything to kind of meet in the middle here. And I do appear to have some transparency mask shenanigans. Yeah, and I'll want to get rid of that. I'll figure out the transparency mask in a little bit. Let's just get the ribbon in there. This part is clearly going to be overlapping, so I won't mess with it there. I will, however, move the ribbon out a little bit, just so its presence becomes a little bit more clear. This style has a lot of kind of deliberate obfuscation. So anything that I can do to make what is remaining more clear is actually pretty important. It is. So I want to make sure that the ribbon looks very much ribbon-like. And that is quite important. So I want to make sure that it gets all of the details of being a ribbon in there in a way that's very easy to read. Hand is in the way for now, so I'm gonna go hide that. She doesn't need a hand right now. So the things that I think make things recognizable as a ribbon. First, we get like a little centerpiece. So I got mine right there. Generally kind of square, kind of round. And then the two big things coming out either end. And a point where we can kind of see inside. Where the ribbon kind of folds. So I want to make sure that all of those things are very visible. And then, where the ribbon is pulled tight in the center, I always think it's very, very helpful to have some folds. And that just is always what brings the ribbon to life, in my opinion. Right now, I'm allowing myself the luxury of curved lines, but I will be killing them later. Because in this drawing, all the lines must be straight. It makes the drawing that much more dramatic. It is a very deliberate stylistic choice that I'm going for. Okay. So I think I got the basics of the ribbon part in. I do still need to put in the little folds there, but I'm going to do that now. I was considering doing it later. I'll go ahead and do it now. It's not too bad. Just wants to twist it a little more, but I think that's okay. And then we got these little tails. So I want them to be a little bit thicker on the top, and then kind of get a bit skinny. Only a bit. Certainly more than they currently do. And I'll see what that looks like. And if that looks good to my eyes. Yeah, so far so good, I'd say. I just want to make this point a little bit more. And I also want there to be like a little angle change. So this way it looks like it's flapping around a little bit. Yeah, I like that. And then the angle change on this one is... I don't know. This one is a little bit more smooth. It just flop it about, nice and gently. Kind of like that. Okay, so yeah, I think something like that will look pretty good. Let me kind of zoom out and take a look. It's too small. I just looked at the reference image here, and the width of the ribbon is much wider than the width of the spoon. Mine needs to be a little bit different proportionally, but I think that I still have it a little bit too small. And the reason I say it has to be a little bit different is just due to the, you know, nice fisheye perspective I'm going for here. So it's a little bit of an extreme angle. So the front of the spoon is going to appear much wider than it otherwise would. So I don't want to overdo it in terms of size. But I think right about there is correct. Yeah, and I still feel like the ribbons are kind of tapering off, and so there we go. I think that should be good. So I'm gonna go put my cake back on, and all of these other things, so that this way I can figure out the mask. So what will be covering up the fingers and stuff. So that does mean I need her hand back for a little bit. And personally, I think that the ribbon will be covering her hand. I think that makes sense here. So I want to adjust that. So this way, the ribbon will be on top of her hand. I might need to move the hand a little bit. We shall see. But this ribbon will be on top of her hand. I'll bring it all in and all together. Yeah, I just need to change the angle of this a little. I do want it to be a little bit wider, I think. Okay. And then, yeah, I do think I will have to move the hand just a little to compensate for this. I guess I'll do it now. Let's see. We have this hand. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot that I put the sleeves in that group. Well, that's fine. I'll move the hand over for now. I want to make sure that we see her thumb and a little bit of the index finger. So I think right about there should be good. I'm probably going to have to move her shoulder, but I'm going to do that later. And I'm definitely going to have to move the sleeves, but again, I'm going to do that later. For now, I think I want to show a little bit more of the index finger. So I will put just a little bit of it here. So I think that will make it look like she's holding the spoon. And I think that's sufficient. So you can see the hand is very firmly behind the ribbon, which is very firmly on top of the spoon, but behind this part. And then this part is sticking over the thumb, so the thumb is further back. And I think that works. It's the easiest way to do perspective. Just have things overlap. And then make it clear which ones are in front and which ones are behind. And suddenly you have created a sense of depth with no grid. Okay. So let's see. I need to... I want to keep it on, but I'm going to invert the colors just to make it very clear to me which part is ribbon and which part is not. I think I'll just fill in this whole area with black. It'll separate it from the little dollops of frosting up there. So that works for me. And now it's just a matter of going through and cleaning it all up. And let's see, I'm thinking about which sides we see of the ribbon at this angle. And I think we'll see this side here, so I'll make this part a little bit thicker. But I don't think we see the other end of this ribbon here, so I'm going to make this line much thinner. I kind of like the accidental angle change I put in there, so I'm going to keep it. Let's get all these lines straight. Might use the line tool to really get it right, but for now I'm going to just kind of freehand it and get an approximation that I like. And then if it becomes too much of a hassle to straighten it out, I will use the line tool to help me out. So recently, I have been digging in to various philosophy texts and whatnot. Mostly because I find it useful to clarify my own ideas in my head. And forgive me for butchering the Chinese, but I recently finished the Tao Te Ching, which is the kind of foundational book on Taoism. And I think it's always really interesting to read books that were written, you know, good thousands of years ago at this point. They're super old. Because, I mean, I think that a lot of those books still have some ideas that are pretty good, but not all of them really work anymore. But besides that, I mean, there are certain things within a lot of Eastern philosophy that I just fundamentally disagree with. But you can kind of see the environment that the writer grew up in, and I find it very interesting. Because he talked a lot about how by embracing certain things, there'd be, like, no need for war and the like, and, you know, that sounds like a lovely little fantasy. It'd be really nice if that could be true. And I think for someone that probably lived alone in the mountains and basically never interacted with people, that maybe it is true. Admittedly, I don't know exactly how the founder lived, but that was, you know, a fairly common thing, especially when you look at some of its more modern incarnations in wuxia and whatnot. Taoism, very, very big in wuxia Slav, naturally. Or at least the appearance of it, since a lot of Chinese martial arts were based around some of these philosophies. But I feel like even back then, if you were not prepared to defend yourself, you were just going to get overrun and have everything just taken away from you, basically. That's why I call it a lovely little fantasy, because it's nice to know that if you're not the aggressor, it's easy to at least avoid certain wars, and I think that much is true. And it's not like he was completely advocating for nonviolence. He mentioned a few times that, yeah, sometimes you gotta do it, but you gotta treat it like a tragedy. And I can probably get behind that. But what I found very interesting was the idea that, how should I describe it? And I mean, to be fair, this is, you know, ancient Chinese poetry, translated into English, because I cannot speak Chinese. So there's probably some stuff lost in translation. Almost certainly some stuff lost in translation. But it's fairly common from what I've seen in a lot of Eastern philosophy, of the idea that you kind of live within yourself, and you should keep your interactions with others fairly minimal. And I mean, just the fact that I think it's important for people to have children aside, because otherwise, you know, then there'd be no more humans. I just don't even agree with that on a fundamental level. I think we're actually, within modern society, starting to see where those kinds of ideas fall apart. And I think a lot of personal growth comes from interacting with people and listening to highly contradictory ideas. And having people disagree with you, and having people not like you, and all these other kind of painful things. And a lot of it is very funny for me to read, because there's... I agree with a lot of the... I guess the idea that as long as you seek happiness, you will find suffering. I agree. Happiness and suffering, two sides of the same coin. You cannot have one without the other. It is not possible. I just disagree with their conclusion to that. And because a lot of these philosophies say that because this is true, you should stop seeking happiness, basically, and limit your desires and all that. And I do not agree. My personal philosophy says, yeah, this is true, so you should embrace suffering. Prepare to hurt a lot, all the time. It feels great. Don't worry about it. You know, just make sure it's worth it. I think that there's some people out there that could maybe learn to suppress their desires a little bit, just because they are not necessarily in line with what they actually want. It's just something that sounds good for the moment, or something that gives the brain something that it likes, you know, lots of dopamine and the like. But if giving the brain lots of dopamine was enough to make you happy, everyone would have a great time scrolling Twitter. Those kinds of things give you a ton of the stuff. You just want to grill? Why don't you go grill then? I mean, to be fair, food is one of those things we need. Perhaps we don't need, you know, the gold-plated pizza, but, you know, the pizza with gold flakes, but, you know, food is pretty necessary, unfortunately. But yes, this is the kind of stuff I've been thinking about lately, and I'm glad I read through it all, even though it was all very fluffy poetry. Like I said, there are some ideas that are pretty good there. But oh yeah, since I was talking about scrolling, yeah, you know, if dopamine was what people actually wanted, then scrolling Twitter would feel good. But you notice for the most part, it really doesn't. And a lot of people that get addicted to social media, the internet, and these things, are generally not very happy. And that's because, personally, I like to think of my brain as a separate entity from me. It is a little bag of meat that's all curly and sitting in there. It's how I feel about most of my body, actually. And I just see it as fundamentally disconnected from myself. And we appear to want very different things. The brain wants, I guess you could say, the things that a silly meat body wants. So, you know, things like survival and that kind of thing. And, you know, while I do think living is pretty great, I kind of want more than just to survive. But I don't think the brain thinks very hard about that. And so what I think a lot of Twitter scrollers are lacking is just an element of purpose. And if you're wasting your life scrolling Twitter, you're probably not doing much else, and it's probably not very... It is not fulfilling for the soul, if I may be pretentious about it. And so ever since I started thinking as my brain and body, although fundamentally connected to me as a separate entity, because I mean, have you ever had that moment where you argue with yourself? I don't think you could do that if your brain was the same entity as you. I don't think it would work. I don't, so... that's why I find it useful to think of my brain as just a separate entity. It's doing its best to keep me within this world as opposed to, I don't know, some other one. And it has its own needs and wants, and it can be annoying and pushy about it. And I don't always like it. But it really has been useful. I've been struggling to try to write things for a long time, and I decided that I was just going to make myself write on a Tuesday and Saturday. Those are now my writing days as opposed to my drawing days. Off stream? No. I don't want to use ChatGPT. I don't think ChatGPT will allow me to meet my writing goals. I've been forcing myself to do it, so I sit down and I stare at the screen, and I don't allow myself to do anything else until the words start coming. I just deprive my brain of all stimuli. I make it bored as possible, and I say, you know what, we could do something else, but you write some stuff. And it has helped. Okay, I had to do something similar when I was learning how to draw, too, because drawing for a long time actually felt pretty bad. Because I didn't like anything that I made. And I just, you know, said, okay, brain, we're gonna sit down and we're gonna do this. I don't care how long it takes. And it worked. And now I don't have to do it anymore because it's easy. But no, you know, like I said, I just don't think that any of these things, and you know, typing random words won't help either. I gotta direct it at least somewhat. But that's what learning's all about. It's about pain. It's really hard being new to things, especially when you're an adult and have, like, at least a degree of sense of how things should be. It's like, God, I wish it was as easy as it was for my two kids at, you know, 4 and 6. They don't care. They don't really know that they don't really have that strong sense of how things should be, or what is good and what is not. And so my daughter is just able to sit down and draw whatever and have a great time, and then she looks at it at the end and just like, yes, this is perfect. sometimes I wish I could recapture some of that energy. But at the same time, I think it's probably for the best. That I can't, that is. It does mean that I have a little bit of a harder time, but I mean, I was just talking about how suffering is, like, okay. So, you know what? It's okay for it to be a little painful. My kids don't actually have that much sugar. They certainly have some. I've been having a interest in like neuroscience and stuff, and a lot of what's been pushing that has been how kids develop. So childhood development, I think, is that what it's called? But yes. And it's all really interesting, and it's because at the age of 6, you don't really have a sense that other people are real yet. Like, you can recognize them, you can interact with them, but it's more like how adults would interact with NPCs in a video game. Like, they're not real. You can kind of do whatever you want. And that's just how they view it. Like, tangentially related to that, there was an experiment done where some adults would put on a puppet show for little kids, and one of the puppets drops a sandwich. And then another puppet, and then it drops the sandwich, leaves the room. And then another puppet comes in and doesn't see the sandwich and pushes it underneath something, and then puts his sandwich where the first one initially put his. And then the first one, and then he goes and leaves the room, and then the first one comes back and eats the sandwich. And they ask the kids, is this puppet being mean? Is the puppet that just ate what he thought was his own sandwich being mean? And when they're this young, they say yes, because he should have known that was not his sandwich. Because it's information that they have, and they have no sense, no ability to think that other people might have different feelings. It's fascinating. Their universe is a truly one where only they exist in it. It's like, God, I so look forward to the continued development of, or continued research into the brain, because it is freaking cool. I just look forward to seeing how far it goes, because as we start figuring it out, it's gonna tell us more and more on what it means to be human, I think. So, very, very interesting. I really want to read more about some of this stuff, but sometimes it can be hard to find, and frankly, a lot of academic journals are becoming of lower and lower quality, I guess I'll say, just because they have to chase funding, and it often leads to poorly done experiments where they're clearly trying to fish for an answer. Oh. Oh, that's rough. Yeah, it must take quite a degree of separation to live on a farm where you know eventually you're gonna have to kill all the animals you're caring for. I'm not sure if I could do it, but, you know, if I grew up there, maybe it'd be different, but I'm a total wuss. I remember being, I think I was 8 or 9 and going fishing, and I caught a fish, and then my stepdad went and gutted it and cleaned it, and I watched, and I was like, what have I done? But I had to walk away. I did eat the fish, though. I did eat it. It was super gross, and my elementary school girl brain was not ready for it. Oh no. A chicken? I didn't think chickens ate fish. Did it just, like, accidentally push it down, or? Okay, just more proof. I do not live on a farm. Alright, there we go. Ribbon almost done here. Do gotta get the tails. Think might end up using the line tool for that. I'll see how it goes. I still like to practice drawing very straight lines periodically, but I don't want to take too long on it. Gotta limit the indulgence, you know? Okay, how do I want to do the shadow here? I think I might do something like this. I think that'll look nice. I have been thinking about many a thing. And I have been trying to think about it all very deliberately. I think it's good to think about things very deliberately. Honestly, sometimes I wonder if a lot of the AI hysteria around everything is just people for the first time realizing that maybe they're replaceable by something that's not human, no less. And bringing up a lot of existential dread that they've never had to think about before. Whereas for me, it's like I never really cared because I kind of always viewed humans as replaceable. Or at the very least, not special, I guess you could say. So I just get to be like, neat technology. But see, this is why life is... no day is ever complete without at least a little bit of existential dread. I think all people should question their place in the universe. It's scary, but I think it's helpful. Because then you can kind of do things in line with what you want, and you can tell your brain to shut up and go sit in the corner and stop bothering you while you're trying to do things that are more important than, I don't know, eating cookies. I use that as my example because I've basically cut dessert out of my life entirely. I will have maybe some stuff on special occasions, but that's about it. And I think my life is better for it. I don't need cookies, and I don't need ice cream, and I don't need all these other tasty things. I'm good. I just want to draw more things. All the things. Maybe, write a story or something. That sounds pretty good. I like that. I'd like for some of my ideas to get out there in a way that people can actually understand them, because anytime I try to talk about these things, I jumble my words, put my foot in my mouth, and nobody has any idea what I'm talking about. Happens all the time, and I kind of hate it. But I think fiction is an excellent way to talk about ideas. It's kind of made me sad that the quality of storytelling in a lot of places has been kind of going down. Because I think one of the best uses for media, I guess you could say, is, and stories in particular, is that they're often a reflection of other things that are happening and how people feel at a given moment, and are a good way to learn about yourself safely without having to do all kinds of dumb things. and I feel like that's been hard to do lately. I think that's why I just haven't had much interest in watching lots of modern things. I'm sure there's lots of modern things out there that are still interesting that I just haven't found. Like, I've found things. I mean, Outer Wilds only came out, like, what? It hasn't been 10 years yet. I think it's been more than 5, though. Yeah, I played it before my daughter was born, so definitely more than that. But yeah, that's relatively modern when you're old. So it does happen sometimes. But I do think it's an excellent way to talk about ideas, because it's within a fictional context, so you don't have to worry about offending people quite as much. And you don't have to worry about as many super uncomfortable feelings coming up. Alright, line tool cheating time. There we go. Super easy. I'm gonna do it for the bottom part too. Anyway, thank you for tolerating my pretentiousness. I like being pretentious occasionally. I think it's healthy. But I like talking about things, and I like thinking about things. I just wish I was better at explaining it. I'm working on it. You know, that's one of the things that I think has actually been really, really helpful about streaming, and just talking about my process when it comes to art and whatever I happen to be thinking at the time. Because I think I have gotten better at explaining it. I can't know for sure because I don't really get that much feedback. But personally, the way I feel about it, I do think that I have been expressing certain things better since I got started. So that makes me happy. Watching skill growth is always very satisfying. For the longest time, I knew that there was a subset of artists out there that just wanted to grind the skills and get good at something, basically. And I always thought that was a little bit weird, because for me, art was definitely much more about expressing an idea. That's ultimately why I moved away from realism. But, you know, I think I can kind of understand the people that just want to get good. No real reason. They just want to get good. It could be about anything. I can respect it. It is very fun watching your skills grow. Especially when it's tangible. And art is one of those things there where you can very tangibly watch your skills grow. As you just look at the thing you did last year, and you look at the thing you did this year, and you can generally see a difference. I think once you reach certain ceilings, that gets a little bit harder, but at that point, it's like you've gotten the skill. Like, you're seriously good. I think I just want this to be totally straight all the way down. Like that. Alright, line tool, save me. I don't want to attempt that line. I've been thinking about this a lot too, because I've been wanting to think about how to approach a tutorial series. And I am probably not going to be what skill grinders want, because I'll be talking about how to, you know, give certain impressions and how to express what you want. So, you know, like I said, I'm probably not going to appeal to those types, but I hope they still get something useful out of it. I've been thinking about it a lot. I've been thinking about a lot of things a lot. I swear, if I get 5 minutes to sit down, I just keep falling asleep. I think part of it is that my couch is extremely comfy, but it's cursed, I tell you. If you sit on it for too long, you will fall asleep. But the other part is sometimes I just feel like my brain is going at 1,000,000 miles an hour and won't stop. It's got a lot of stuff to think about, but it's a good way to be. Okay, let's see. I think I want that outer line to be done via line tool as well, because it's not straight. It's kind of bothering me. There we go. Now it is. Now I just fix the tips, fix all the insides, and get rid of some of this excess, and all will be well. I am zoomed in way more than I should be. I'll fix it in a second. Okay. Let's get out of here. There we go. Just a little bit left. And then the ribbon will be done. I was talking quite a bit, so I... slowed down quite a lot. That's okay. Yeah, I do think the talking part is just as important as the art part, so I don't mind getting slowed down. Even if I'm just talking to myself. Okay, but there we go. I think that is ribbon. And it doesn't look like a particularly shiny ribbon. So, oh wait, that's right. I will get this line. I don't want to use the line tool for this. I want to draw the line. Maybe I should do it from this way. There we go. And now the ribbon bends. Okay, there we go. And this one I'm gonna put in shadow so that this way it goes like straight down. And actually I think I can do the same for this part. There we go. That is a very nice ribbon. Super edgy. I love it a lot. So, there we go. I think before I can do the rest of the spoon, I need to get the rest of her hands. Because where her hands are is going to determine a lot about the spoon. So, let's go draw some hands. Do I take donations? I suppose. I'll go ahead and pull it up real quick. Give me just a moment here. There you go. Yeah, you can send me stuff there if you'd like. But no obligation. I just like having people come and watch. Alright. Where is the hand layer? Here we are. Actually, no, aside from the pinky I've gotten cut off, I think I did a pretty good job defining this hand here. So I think it looks pretty okay. I just need to, you know, clean it up. So I guess I'll get started on that. Most of it is kind of going to be covered up, so I might switch back and forth between having the spoon on and not having it on. But it's just kind of hard to draw it properly with it totally off, or totally on. So I'm going to have to switch back and forth. But let's see, I think I have things roughly defined pretty well. You know, me not knowing what to do with the thumb aside. So I'll clean up some stuff around the index finger, because I think that's what's going to be important here. Because this is the part that's going to be on top of the spoon. So the finger here and the thumb. And then this pinky is sticking out behind it all. I'm going to keep the arm frill in for now. I will have to take it out near the end. Just so that this way I actually know which parts are going to be in front here and which parts I kind of have to draw a little more thoroughly. Okay, and I'm going to let myself draw it with curves for the time being, just because it's easier for me to understand. And then at the end, I'm going to go and kind of get rid of all the curves. So certain parts I'll keep nice and straight if it suits me. But otherwise, you know, I'm not going to worry about it too much. So here, I'm focusing on the width of the fingers and making sure that they're a good size. And again, I'm particularly focused on the index finger and the thumb. The rest are probably mostly going to be hidden, and they're only being drawn somewhat, so this way I can understand the pose a bit better. And I do like her pinky sticking out like that. It's very fancy. We're gonna let Bibi be nice and fancy there. I think it'll be great. Okay, and I can see her arm kind of sticking through there because I made where her arm is coming out like a super neon green, so it would be easy to see. And there we go. You can see. I see it very well. And at some point I will put fingernails onto this, but not yet. That'll be for a little bit later. First, I have to make sure that I understand what it is I am drawing here. Easier said than done, because this entire area is a little bit of a mess right now. But that's okay. That's how sketches should be. Is it really a sketch if it's neat, right? It's gotta start somewhere. Let's see, how do I want to do this? I do think I like having a little extra angle there. So this way it looks a little bit rounder, despite all of my straight lines. I think I'll do this. I was thinking about rounding that off, but you know what? No, I think I'm going to leave it pointy. I think I'm going to leave it very pointy. I changed my mind. I changed my mind before I did anything. That happens sometimes. All right. Okay, and I think that looks good. So I'm going to continue around. Okay, and I think that's roughly what I want the fingers to end up looking like. So let's see if I can turn the spoon back on. I don't think I can just yet. Yeah, not quite yet. But I still think it looks like her fingers are wrapping around the spoon. So what I need to do before I feel like I can turn the spoon back on is I need to smooth out the entirety of the thumb and the index finger, and then I can adjust the mask that cuts out the spoon. So it will make the areas that the fingers are supposed to be on top of transparent, basically. So this way, I can draw the spoon normally when I want, and it'll be cut off, and then the fingers here will show through. I've been trying to use transparency masks more, because I think it allows for a little bit more flexibility. And it means that I redraw things a little bit less when I change my mind. And that's been very nice. I think I have been very successful in integrating them into my workflow. And it's made my life a little bit easier. This year, my goal is speed, and I do think part of that is using my tools a little bit more effectively. So, I have been trying to learn. So far, so good. I think the last time I seriously tried to use my tools more effectively was back when I was learning how to use layers, actually. And I do think that incorporating the use of layers into my art helped a lot. It made things easier to change. I still think overall it's easier to draw on one layer. That hasn't really changed. But holy hell, is it a lot easier to change things if you have more than one. So that's let me be more flexible, and I think that suits my workflow very well. Then I can just go look at something and decide if I like it or not. I don't have to be afraid. Alright. I guess I'll get the nails in too. Because I do think that they will be important. And I'll just make them white. Sometimes I make them like semi-transparent. I don't think that's appropriate for this style. So they are just going to be a solid white. But I'll go ahead and finish off the index finger first. I gotta say, thank you very much, Pastel, for doing such a good job in defining the hands. Because they looked pretty good, and I changed very little. So I was able to just kind of come in and smooth things out without much of a care, and that felt nice. I was worried that this hand pose would be way harder, because it is. I mean, getting hands to hold things is always a little bit tricky. But I think it ended up looking pretty alright, and so all I really had to do was perfect it. So where I say, you know, always do something nice for your future self. They'll appreciate it. Thinking of my past, present, and future selves as different entities, I've also found is very helpful. Because then, you know, I can actually feel like I'm letting myself down occasionally if I think of them as a different person. And it's useful. Useful for me, because I don't like letting people down. It bothers me, actually. So, thinking of it in that term kind of made it easier for me to do certain things, and made it more likely to do the things that I know I need to do. Because then, you know what? Maybe I don't get any benefit from it. That's fine. But my future self down the road will be very happy. And her life will be much easier. Alright, almost got this index finger good. Then let's get her fingernails on. So on these fingers here, I don't think the nails show because they're all kind of dipping behind other fingers. But I do think that they show on these two and the pinky. I'm not going to do the pinky yet. The pinky I will do after I am able to turn the spoon on permanently. Okay, so let's get some white in here. So this nail, I think, is doing something like this. And I will make them flat. I don't think I have to. Actually, does she wear nail polish? Does she wear nail polish? I should check this. It does not look like it. Let me see. Do I have a good shot of her fingers here? Not really. But no, okay. I don't see any nail polish on this. They're just kind of, you know, fleshy colored. Maybe slightly pink. Okay. So I think I'm gonna go for something like this. I don't want them to look too claw-like. I don't think that's appropriate here. Bibi must still be cute. Even if she's looking very unhinged here, she must still be cute. I think that's important. So I will be doing that. And thus the nails will be mostly flat. Only because I can't do round here. Like everything needs to be straight. So there's no round curves, no round edges. And thus the next best thing is flat for just some cute nails. It's like looking at them, they're a little bit on the pointy side. But I don't want them to be like sharp looking. I don't. I think that's a bit much. Like I said, I'll handle the nail on the pinky after the spoon is on. Actually, I'm wasting my time there. Okay, let's get the black lines around. I want them to be about the same width as the fingers, so it's going to be pretty thick. And I do want to make it look like the nail bed is coming off the finger a little. I always think that kind of thing looks nice. So I will do the line like this. Okay. There we go. I think that's looking pretty good. Yeah, I don't think I'll have any trouble getting both hands done today. So that's excellent. Because the other one is only going to be a few fingers. And then we'll see how much of the arms I can do. Yeah. That'll be a nice thing for my future self. Make it so she doesn't have to worry about the arms anymore. The arms are the worst. Arms are my nemesis. They might end up being the next thing I really study. Because I do think you can do a lot with your arms. Because hands are very expressive, and hands are connected to arms, and so the arms can help a lot. You know, just picture the person talking with their hands. That also involves a lot of arm movement, and I'd like to figure it out. I made this one a little long. That's okay, I can fix it. I think the length of the nail is fine. I just had the nail bed on the thumb a little bit too long, I think. There we go. That's better. I was just looking at it for a second there, and I was like, no, I think that the nail is the right length. Because I was thinking about the part off the finger. But then I looked back and I was like, huh, you know, maybe that is a little long. Okay, let's get the index finger. Most of this, I think, is actually going to be covered by ribbon, so I'm going to hold off on doing anything further with that. I think it is time to turn on the spoon. Okay, and yeah, indeed, a lot of that totally covered by the ribbon, so there we go. I think that's about as much as I need to do there, and the little pinky does indeed peek off the back end, so I'll have to worry about him, and I see that there's a few spots in there where the other fingers do show, so I'll refine those at some point. But first, I want to get the mask on the ribbon, or on the spoon, looking good. So I'm gonna put the whole thing in for now. Yeah, we're just gonna pretend like the mask is not a thing, and I'm going to clean the handle of the spoon here. I am just going to smooth out the whole thing, at least somewhat. I'm not going to worry about getting it perfect, but I do want to make sure I understand what it is that I'm drawing here. And we'll get it perfect after. Okay, what does our spoon look like again? So we got kind of a hole with a heart in it. That's quite a spoon. Stick. Okay, the back of the spoon is covered up, so I don't have to worry about any of those special patterns there. But I kind of want to make sure I get them in back here. So let's get that in roughly. So I think the shape is kind of like that, and then it'll have some very specific edges to it. I probably won't draw all of the patterns. I don't think that would work very well. And then we have a heart. It is pointed toward the back. But yeah, with as little spaces I have to work with, I don't think I can get all those patterns in there. I'll try to get a few. I think that might look pretty okay. And we'll make that a shiny gem a little bit later. Let's see, you're a little bit too far back there. A little heart. Okay. Yeah, I think I like that, and the angle of the spoon is working for me. Is the angle of the thumb, though? Hold on, let me take a look. What does it look like when I'm holding this? Because, yeah, I don't think this big gap between the fingers is good. Alright, let me take a look at the hand itself again. Okay, I think I know what I can do to help that. I think if I move this a little further out, that'll largely fix the issue. And... yeah, once I smooth that out, I think that'll be okay. And then I can add some more shadows from the spoon and stuff. So most of this, I think, might end up in shadow here. Yeah, I think that looks all right. Okay. So from there, I'm going to go ahead and grab the hand. I'm just going to grab the whole group. And I'm going to go to the spoon layer and figure out which part should be covered up. And I gotta be particular about it, because it's gotta look like her thumb is wrapping around there, but some of the spoon is gonna be on top of it. But I think something like this looks pretty accurate to me. Does it currently look like her thumb is clipping through it? That's my big worry. I don't want to make it look like her thumb is clipping through the spoon. Okay, in that case, I think most of this... but if I do it like that... yeah, no. The back part of the spoon has to be on top, right? Yeah. I just had to check. I was using my tablet pen to kind of help me out. Alright, let's go in and see if I can figure out how to make it look like it is no longer clipping. Oh, why do you look so weird? Do I just accidentally have two colors on there? Because it almost looks transparent. I am not sure what to make of that. Let me make sure that all of this is the same color. Totally is. Why do you appear to be so transparent? You should not be transparent. Okay. It was still a mask issue. That's fine. I fixed it. Okay, so what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure that the kind of tip of the thumb is wrapping around the spoon there. But the rest stays at least mostly intact. I think that'll be right. I'll see how I feel about it once it's all done. At least the index finger's easy. Okay. So how's that? Yeah, I think that looks like her thumb wrapping around it. Alright, let's finish cleaning up the spoon. Because I think I can trust everything here now. Just a little shenanigan right there. Okay, all is well. Yeah, and I think most of it looks pretty alright. So I'll just kind of smooth it out a bit. At least in the areas that will show. And then I gotta figure out this nonsense thing back here. Oh boy, okay, so it's round, so I'm gonna make it kind of hexagonal, I guess. Well, we have these little things kind of digging in here, and then this little thing right there, and I'm not quite sure how I want to handle that yet. Maybe just kind of like this. We'll just let this little thing kind of come out. No, it should be much shorter than that. it's pretty small, and I have weird perspective going on. So I do think something like that will work. Now let's turn this into a little hexagon. And we'll see where I go with it. Okay. So I think this shape should be fine. And then I just know that there's a couple of like little wings coming off of it. I'm not sure how to describe it other than these tiny little wings. Like right here. So we got a couple little bumps there. I'm not going to worry about them yet. I don't think it's that important yet. I'll worry about it a little later. Okay, let's start sketching on the shape of some of these things. I'm going to do it all in curves because that's easier to understand. And since this part is going under the thumb, I do want it to be in shadow. But this part is going on top of the thumb, so I want it to stop being in shadow. So kind of probably a bit more like that. And I'm not going to worry about getting it like totally perfect. I don't think it's that important, but I do want it to be recognizable. Because dear God, that is frilly. So we got like a little heart-shaped thing here. I'm just going to simplify this a lot. But keep some of the impression in there as best I can. Because, yeah, no way I'm getting this pattern right with this kind of perspective. That is beyond what I can do right now. That's fine. I'm sure if I spent, like, 10 hours or something on it, maybe I could get it, but I don't think it's worth it. So I'm not gonna try. I'm just gonna give the general impression and call it good. I think this is already probably more than what I really have to do to make this look good. But I'd like to do a little bit. I do like frilly patterns like this. I think they are a lot of fun. So I'll make this all look a little bit more delicate as I go through. But I think this is a reasonable start. I think that's probably fine. And then the rest is basic. So I think that's probably about as much as I'll do. I might do a little bit more with that guy. Where it kind of dips in a little bit here and then back out. Okay, yeah, I think I can get behind that. And will have a little bit of the side here visible. So we'll get a line like this, and then there will be a shadow underneath the thumb and the finger here. So I think something like that will look good. And then, yeah, from there, I think I can just do the hands, and it'll be no trouble at all. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish off that spoon. But first I need a quick stretch. Oh, man. Stretch. Ah. Okay, back to what I was doing. Stretching really does feel nice. Let's go smooth this out now. So, you know, as usual, I'm gonna focus on the outside. And then I'll go back in and do the inside. Here, the outside and inside blend together a little bit around the hands. Since I do want to define both the edge and a little bit of a shadow. So I will work on both sides there, but otherwise, you know, for this part down here, I just got to get the outside defined. Let me see, how exactly did that little wing work? Okay. So we just have a little bit coming off the side here. And the same on the other side. And then here we have a flat part and almost little horns on the side there. And I think I want the outer lines here to be pretty delicate. I think it suits such a delicate looking spoon. So I'm gonna keep them very soft. And then down here, you have a little bit coming off on both sides. And I'm just making it all a little bit pointier. Just, you know, for stylistic reasons, of course. But it's something like that. I think I want the split to be a little bit more centered there. There we go. That's much better. Okay, I'm gonna go take another look. I'm gonna be going back and forth quite a bit here, I think. You know, it is what it is. That's okay. I do apologize to all the future time-lapse watchers when I'm rapidly scrolling back and forth here to make sure I get all these details right, but it's necessary. I'm doing my best. But I think that is sufficient detail for this. Maybe I'll do a little bit on the bottom side if there's anything, but there's really not, so there we go. I think that's good. I just gotta straighten everything out now. We'll get this spoon just right. And from there, we can finish off the hand. And then start the other hand. Still have about a little more than an hour, so I do think I can get them both. I'm pretty sure I can get both hands done. And that will be one very solid step to finishing this off, because I do think that this spoon is an important focal point. Mostly the top part, of course. Let me see, how did that thing look again? Okay. Mostly the top part of the spoon, but with this so close to that, and so connected to it, I'd still like to get it right. And I'm pretty sure I can. I am simplifying the pattern heavily, but I think that's okay. I think it'll still be very recognizable. So I'm just trying to get some of the little ridges on this part of the spoon looking all right. There's quite a few. But I think that these little details will really just help sell that cute frilliness in her spoon. Like I said, although I'm making her look very unhinged, I still want her to be cute. And I do think her spoon is very cute. So I don't want to completely get rid of these things. I don't. I still want them to be there. I do think it is important. And mine will look a little bit different because I'm not quite sure how to handle this with this perspective, but I think it's still very recognizable for what it is. Okay. Yeah, I think this looks pretty good. Maybe a little lopsided. I think I might adjust some of this just a touch here. Please don't affect the mask. I only want the spoon. There we go. That's a bit less lopsided there. I will have to smooth it out again, but that's okay. It's better than it being lopsided. Okay, so I'm just kind of trying to perfect the shape there, and I think it's looking pretty all right. So now I can kind of clean it all up, and the top part will be good, and then I can go back to doing that bottom part. It'll be great. I think it's looking really good. Let's see. Just a little lopsided here still. Like I said, I don't want it to be too lopsided. I still want it to look like it's all going to the right places. So I'm going to try to eliminate some of that here. Get it a little bit straighter. Just a little. Still keep the shadows from the hands and whatnot. Very important. And I think this is fine. Let's see, maybe a little lopsided right there. I'll try to make that just a little bit better, but otherwise, yeah, I think it's fine. Okay. Almost ready to move on here. Okay, that's good. And while the spoon is a little shiny, I don't think I'm going to put highlights in it. I still want to put some highlights in her hair. But I think that might be the only part that gets highlights. This is far enough away from any of the major focal points that I don't want to bring too much attention to it. So he will not get any highlights. So I'm going to finish smoothing out the edge here, and then after that, I'll worry about those patterns on the inside. Gotta do the heart last. Once everything else is done, I can do that little heart. Let's see, I think we see some of the edge here, so I'm gonna make these lines a little bit thicker through all of this. Still feeling a little bit lopsided in a couple of places, so I'll straighten it out as well. But otherwise, I think all is well. And here, the line gets thin again, so I think that's all good. And on the outside here, we will also have fairly thin lines. I think I want all the patterns on the inside to have fairly thin lines too. Okay, there we go. There's the outside. Now I'm going to lock the layer, and I'm just going to clean up here. I don't intend to spend too long on it. I just want to get some of the lines a little thinner and a little bit straighter. But this is such a small thing that I just don't want to spend too long on it. As long as it gives the right impression, that is enough. That's all I need. All will be well. There's been enough kind of hard things to be drawn today. My hand is cramping a little bit. And, I think my brain is all out of talking about philosophy juice. That's alright, we can talk a little bit about art instead. Just kind of what I'm doing. But, yeah, I mean, you can see, if you look over at if you open up the pattern in your own browser, you can see I'm definitely not copying it. But nonetheless, I do think it has a very similar impression. I'm just gonna add in a few more lines here to make it appear to be more detailed. Just because that spoon does appear to have a ton of detail on it. And this is just a fairly simple way I can do that. Just add a few more marks, a few more lines. Even if it's not exactly the same. The viewer's brain should do most of the hard work for me, and I do appreciate that. Okay, that should be fine. So we'll come over here to this one. And I'm gonna do something kind of similar. This is just all about the basic impression. I think I'm actually gonna totally clear everything here because I want to do something specific. Maybe specific is the wrong word, but what was there did not match up with what's in my head. So I just wanted to start over and try again. And then we get another little line here. And I'm gonna subdivide this one more time. And I'm gonna divide it here as well, and just all the way through here. So there we go. Now we got some nice little ridges on the spoon, and I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. It probably won't be symmetrical, but I think that's okay. That's why I say, unironically, I think I could get it totally right if I was willing to spend like about 10 hours just doing the base of the spoon here, but I just don't think it's worth it. I don't. It's a small detail, and while I am a great appreciator of the small details, I do think that this is one area where the impression matters more than the detail. So I just want to give the impression. And I do think that this little bit of impression will still do better than not drawing it at all. Oh, hi, I didn't draw it like that. Okay, how did I do it then? It went here. Okay, works for me. What did that center part look like? A little round thing with little wings. Okay. The round part is becoming triangular. Okay, and there we go. I think that's good for the spoon. I think that still looks more than detailed enough when you zoom out. Maybe just one more line right through here. There we go. Yep, I'd say that still kind of captures the spirit of Bibi's spoon. So let's go ahead and draw the little heart. And the little pole connecting it to everything. And I think that'll do it for here, and I'll go ahead and finish off the hand. It'll be great. Still feel like basically all the work was already done for me, so I had a pretty easy time with it today. I was a little bit worried when I came in today because I do think that the pose was pretty hard. But, you know, the work was already done for me, so it all worked out. I will give this heart a little bit of a highlight, just because it's a gem. But that's the only thing here that's going to get a highlight. That's the only thing that I think needs a highlight here. Okay, we'll give it a little gem highlight right there, and there we go. Okay, spoon is done, and I think it's looking pretty good there. I'm just gonna stretch again. Like I said, my hand was kind of cramping from all that. But there we go, all done. Let's get the hand. Okay, I'm gonna start with this pinky here, since it also needs a nail. And I think I do like the edge of the hand here being the shadow on it being a little bit thick. Because that means it can kind of double as a shadow here. But I do need to square off the tip of this finger. No curves allowed, only straights. Curves are forbidden. I think it's pretty important for this particular style. Okay, there we go. And I think that's good. And let's get the nail on there. So this nail, I don't feel like making a new layer. Normally for something like this, I would, but I just don't feel like it today, so I'm not gonna. But with the angle the hand is at, I think that the nail is probably underneath. Let me double check without the spoon. I might be wrong. Oh no, it's on the side. Never mind. I am indeed wrong. Okay. So it's going to be coming off like this. I just wanted to get that in there without the ribbon. So this way I knew roughly where it would be living. Okay, so yeah, we see the whole thing. Let's get you following the direction of the finger a little bit better here. I didn't want to worry about it too much until I knew what I was going to have to care about, but it turns out it's basically everything, so... There we go. Shaving it down a bit. I thought it was a bit long. So now I'm just shaping it, and I think it is time to add the lines. See, hands aren't so scary. They're not so bad. You get used to it. It just takes a lot of practice, and frankly, having hand references is really useful. Even once you get good, being able to see what the fingers are doing is really helpful. For me, I tend to only have trouble with the thumb. I'm less clear on how the thumb attaches to the hand, the rest of the hand, than I'd like to be. Okay, so there's the nail. Let's go back to the hands and finish that off. Okay, so we got some fingers here. I need to turn off the ribbon again and kinda refine this just a little bit so I know what I'm trying to draw. I think these fingers are pretty close together, so I'm gonna make this shadowed spot a little bit thinner. And up here too, I do think that these hands are a little closer together than that. And while that does make this finger kind of fat, I should do something about that actually. We're just gonna lift this up here. Make the finger a little bit less fat there. Oh, I have it locked, that's right. So now this finger's a little bit fat, so let's get it the right size, and I can shave off some of this. I'm not going to be very particular about it, though, because I'm pretty sure most of that is covered. But I think this shape should work out. So I can turn all of it back on, and, you know, there we go. Oh, I have some spoon residue showing here. There we go. Okay, and just the way things shook out, I am actually going to lower this bit here, just because I don't think it looks very good there. I want to show a little bit of the skin between the fingers here. I was mostly looking over here in this corner, and I think that this is good. There, and now I can just smooth it out. And whether this is shadow from the fingers or shadow from the ribbon, I don't think it matters. I think it looks fine there. all is well. And that should finish off the hand until I'm ready to go connect it to this arm piece. I think I will do that when the time comes, but I think I would like to finish off the other hand first. So there we go. I think that looks pretty all right. Maybe just a little bit more thumb back here. She looks very fancy with her pinky. Pinky just casually sticking out there. I like it. Okay. So let's see. I need to turn her body back on so that this way I can get her other hand. So let's see. Where are you? Are you just part of the body layer? No, I do have you separated out. Here? Perfect. Okay. And I'm just going to keep this one simple because, you know, it's just there. You put your hand under the cake. So this way if it falls off, you catch it. It doesn't go on the floor, and it's all very sad. This way she can still force feed it to the viewer. I'm going to make the lines here pretty thick because I want things to look very shadowed. I want it to look dark. I'm even going to add a little bit more of a cast shadow from the spoon. I thought about making them completely black, but I don't think that would look good. So I'm still going to keep some flesh tones in there. And I will also give her nails. But this time they're going to be underneath, so we're only going to see the little parts that come out on top. So this time the nail layer gets to be underneath. I just want to straighten this out a bit more. I think it's a little bit curved. I'll probably have to touch all of this up a little bit. Just because certain ones of these lines are feeling a little bit curved. Or just due to how I draw lines. I'm not good at making them straight. They always end up just a little bit curved. Maybe I'll use the line tool to help me out, but I still want to practice drawing some straight lines. I think it'll be a very useful skill to have. I think being able to control my brush very well will be useful for being able to draw a little bit faster. That is the number one thing I want to practice right now. Just being a little bit faster. Or preferably a lot faster. A lot faster sounds pretty good too. Okay, the line here is very thin, so I gotta thicken him up too. And I'll get that pinky in just a second. I just want to get these guys. They're all kind of together. So in my head, getting these guys right just feels right. In this case, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I'll be getting them all. But this is fine. Okay, now that I think I have most of that all right, let's get that little pinky. Just kind of sticking out there a little bit. He might end up entirely black, actually. Just because it's so small. There we go. And then I can kind of do the last little bit that I wanted. I wanted a little bit of shadow running across the fingers here. And I think that's good. So I think that'll be it for the other hand. Well, I guess I gotta get the nails on there. So I'll go do those real quick. Oh, I don't have whites. Okay, there we go. Just roughly putting them in real quick. I'm trying to keep everything pretty straight since I feel pretty confident about the structure of the fingers here. I don't think I need the curves to help me make sense of anything. Let's see, I think I do want to rotate you a little bit though. There we go. That looks a little bit more in line with how the hand is pointed. Okay. Having to think about it really quick, so okay, I guess I'll leave in some curves. I'll straighten it out once they're all in. Once I'm satisfied with generally how they look, and I think this is good. Okay. Let's go in and straighten them out then. I won't be adding any further shadow to these though. This is plenty. This is plenty. I do want the lines to be about the same width as the one on the fingers though, so I will make sure that is true. I guess they're going to be a little thinner. I think that's okay. Just changing my mind partway through again. It's fine. It happens all the time. You can see on this one, I decided I didn't quite like the shape, so I wanted to fix it up a little. So just another moment of casually changing my mind. It's all good. I can do it as many times as I want. It's part of the joy of being the artist. You get to do whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want. As long as your skill level allows, I suppose. One of the many reasons being a beginner is kind of rough. Okay. Let's see. This is a little too curved. I will fix that after I finish the nails, though. I just want to get these cute little nails in. And then I can worry about everything else. Gotta do one thing at a time, unfortunately. I really wish I could do 5 things at a time. I had a character once who basically figured out how to put her soul in a jar and effectively became a lich. It was a modern setting, so those weren't really a thing, but it's basically how it worked. And she could remotely control many bodies all at the same time. It's pretty funny. I want an ability like that. That sounds fantastic. I think it'd be great to be able to be in like 50 different places at once. I could get so much done. This is one of the many reasons I love superpower stuff. You just get to think of all the cool things that you could do if you weren't bound by the super boring laws of physics of the world. Because oh boy, does physics feel so limiting sometimes. And reality in general. It's just no fun at all sometimes. Very unfair. Okay, let's go fix the finger here. Where did I put it? There it is. Okay. Yes, where did I put my finger? I forget. Happens all the time. You just lose track of your body parts on accident. It's fine. Okay, so there we go. There's the hands done. And I still got 30 minutes. Yeah, I think it's really coming together. I'm gonna go... I never did reinvert the frosting and turn on the shape. I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. I might need to hide it again, but there we go. I think we're looking pretty good. Yeah. Alright, so... next, I guess, is gonna be this arm thing. And then up the arm. So, yeah, we'll see how far I can get through her two arms here. So I don't really know how I feel about it all. Art is hard. But I think over here is okay. I'm not sure if I like the location of her shoulder. I might need to move it over a little. I can't really tell if I feel like her shoulders are too broad right now. Brain a little bit tired. But I feel like I got through a lot of the hard stuff, so... that's nice. Yeah, I think I'm almost to the point where I'm going to be able to do the shape, because I think once I get these two arms, that's the last of the things overlapping the shape, so I can finally get rid of all those curves. I've been staring at them. They've been staring into my soul, I tell ya. Okay. I'm gonna leave it bright orange for a little longer. Just because I do think it'll be easier to work with like this, and I can keep the layers on and all that good stuff. I do feel like I have most of the things in the right place. I just need to get the colors on. And the shape of the frills. Are they round frills or are they square frills? Kinda both, so I'll call them round. I think the artist just draws those kinds of frills kind of square. Okay. So let's go and get these the right shape. And I might need a couple of layers to figure out where some parts are supposed to go. Because the angle of this is really tricky. Very, very tricky. I assure you, I am absolutely terrified. I'm gonna hide the spoon for a second. Please go away, thank you. Just so I can see where I'm going with this. Oh yeah, I am super terrified of where I'm going with the angle of all this. I think I can make it work. But it is scary, and it is intimidating. Okay, so I'm just gonna think about how the frill comes out of the thing around her wrist there. I think it's gonna be something like this. And the part of it is gonna be behind the hand. So let me find her hand again. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's in the same group. So I think it's gonna be kind of like this, where part of it goes behind her hand. There we go. So something like that. And then over here, I only kind of know where I'm going with this. So the wrist thingy looks like it comes up like this. Yeah, this is probably roughly where the top of the wrist is. So we'll have the frill kind of come out and up and something like that happening. I'm just kind of feeling my way through, but I think this looks all right. And then it'll wrap around here, and I guess I have to adjust a little bit more of the hand. This needs to come all the way down. And this is important to figure out now because I need this to wrap around the hand here. There we go. And then I just grab the hand, erase the excess. And we pray this looks right once I put the colors on. So I'll start there. Sounds good to me. Okay, and I'll just pretend like I know what I'm doing down here. I'm pretty sure I can fake it well enough. Because I don't think this part matters quite as much as the upper part. I don't. Alright, I'm pretty sure I can make that work. So... did I break something? Oh yeah, I hit the spoon, never mind. I was mildly concerned, but no, all is well. Okay. Let's get those colors in there. So basically, the way it is the frills are white, then there's the little kind of spotted pattern in the middle, and there's a couple of ribbons on top. The ribbons are on the top part of the arm, so we do see them. They'll be like on this side. But let's get everything else in there first. So... okay, so this part, white. Actually, all of it white. And then there's gonna be a little cuff kind of coming around here. I'm having a little bit of a hard time seeing, so let's invert the colors for just a little bit here until I'm a little more confident in this line. I think I'll even hide the spoon. Okay. Then around these frills, I want it to look very short, probably shorter than you'd expect, because I want this arm to be coming, you know, right at us, basically. So I think something like this is accurate. I'm just double checking everything. I think this part needs to be a little lower. Curve a little more sharply. But yeah, something like that. I'll go ahead and start outlining things. And plopping in some shadows where I think it's appropriate. These are all a little bit too curved, so I will have to kind of fix that. I just kind of want to get things started here. But you have to remember that all of these white parts I'm putting in will eventually become black. In fact, it's going to happen right now. So something like this. Something like this. Yeah, I think it looks okay. Like, it's very messy still. I'm just kind of doing a proof of concept here. Like I said, I was kind of terrified of all this because I knew the perspective was going to be weird. And I wasn't sure if I'd be able to understand it. Turns out it wasn't really much trouble. Okay, so how do the brown spots on this work? I know they're just kind of the same as on her headband, but I would like a good look. They're just so covered by ribbons that I'm having a little bit of a hard time seeing it. Okay, I think I got it. I gotta keep them a lot smaller than I otherwise would. And there's like a big blob kind of in the middle here. So I think that should be fine. Let's see here. So now ribbons. Ribbons. I think they will be interesting. I'm even going to do it on a nude. I'm scared. So basically what I gotta do is I'm gonna do the bottom one first. They're gonna be kind of on the side. I don't think the center of it will be overlapping the bottom part, but the ribbony part definitely will be. Just due to the angle we've got here. The perspective, you know, very, very strong. And so I'll have that one there, and then we'll have another one pretty much right next to it. And it will be overlapping quite a lot. They are just gonna be perpetually stuck together here. So something like that, I think, is about what I want. I think I might save fixing those up for next time, though, because, oh boy, is it a little bit of a mess. I want them to come out a little bit more here. But yeah, it's a bit of a mess. So I think I'd like to save that for next time. So I think that's as far as I'm going to go in the arm frill here. Let's see, I still got like 20 minutes. Do I feel like doing more? Yeah, sure. Let's go ahead and work on this arm a little. I'm not quite sure what I want to do. Because I might need to work on her back sleeve there before I can totally finish the arm here. But I will give it a shot. I think I want it to be a little further behind her body. The perspective is weird. So I think something like this is a little bit more accurate. That's a bit too much. There we go. And then I want to send it back behind the ribbon here. I don't like the ribbon sharing an edge like that. Okay, I don't hate it. I'm not going to zoom in and smooth it out any further. I'll just go ahead and leave it like that, and I think for the shoulders and whatnot, I'm gonna need like all the brain power I can get. I am very afraid of it. But you know what I think I can do is I think I can get started on the rest of her hair here. Because I now have the hand done and the spoon, so I know which parts I have to care about. So you know what? That sounds good to me. Let's go ahead and do that little bit of hair. I was thinking about just stopping, but I like drawing. And frankly, once I'm done, I'm probably just gonna go draw some more. I think that's exactly what's gonna happen here. So, you know what? Let's see what else I can do. Where, or at least off stream, I'm gonna go get ready for the next short that I'm gonna post for next week. Like I said, there's gonna be lots of art and lots of time lapses around. I was glad I was able to meet my goal of 2 time lapses last week. So I'm hoping that I can do the same this week. I also wrote quite a lot for me, more than I have been. And more importantly, I'm getting my brain used to it, so I'm hoping to kind of ramp up there. And I am hopeful that I will at least have a couple of pages of my comic drawn by the end of the year. I think that would be pretty awesome. I guess I'm having it curl like this. You know what? I should actually check to see what they do. Yeah, that's exactly what they do, so this is fine by me. In fact, I'm gonna hide some things here real quick. And, okay, so I just had the other one curling the other way. Okay, that's fine then. Yeah, I don't think it shows. We'll let this one curl like this. The other one can go do hair things over there. Sounds good to me. Okay. Yeah, I think that all looks pretty okay. I think I will still sit on it until next time, though. I think my brain is out of juice in order to properly check these things. So I want to take some time to look over everything I did today next time, and then we can finish off some of these things. You know, I'll do the arm frill first. I think I'll start working my way up her arm, and then this hair. And everything else is just largely covered by a lot of other things. It does make it a little bit of a maze. It's going to be kind of tricky. But I wouldn't be surprised if I finish this next week. I think it's going to be either next week or the week after. We're almost there. And then I can start on the next one. Still plan to do all of Faye's Saga. All of them. Because I think they're all pretty great. And I have ideas for all of them, I guess, except Nanya, since she hasn't debuted yet, but will by the time I'm done. So I'll be sure to watch her debut for ideas. But I do think that this is where I will end off for today. So thank you all for coming, and I hope you're able to make something wonderful today. I will see you all tomorrow.